Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Disaster.
I haven't heard that since Froggy. Rest in peace, Apollo Creed, by the way, too. How about that?
I know. Yes.
He had about 20 nicknames, though. I only have about 18.
That's all right. There are other nicknames we haven't told you.
Haven't told you. They weren't permissible to say on the air.
Yeah, so we haven't said it to your face. It's kind of behind your back. It's pretty cruel. Yesterday was the Super Bowl. I don't know what they call it. Super Bowl first
I think
night,
it's like night or something like that now. Yeah, I don't even know.
Who cares?
I don't.
And
my team's in it. I still don't.
You watched every minute.
No, didn't watch 1 second of it.
Took notes.
Did not watch a second of it.
You wanted to see if Travis Kelce was limping. Come on. You're already whining about the practice field.
I'll tell you what, and I'm not just talking about this year. Yeah, you add that with what happened the day of the Super Bowl last year, that playing surface.
Hey,
they got to be better at this point.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's
exactly what are you doing this week?
I agree, but
what are you doing?
But having said that,
I'd take them over to a high school stadium with artificial turf and just go over there.
Just go over and do it.
Look, they're all doing walkthroughs. It's not.
Yeah.
Let's pretend it's.
But the problem was
a nothing issue.
It was last year, though. Sure was last year. Yeah, it was a game, and that's what I mean, though. And I'm talking about that.
It's
on top of this. You have time to think about this stuff.
It's a game.
That's fun. Yeah, it is.
Okay, to quote Allen Iverson.
We're talking about practice. Yeah, practice.
Practice. These are elite. These guys at this stage are doing walkthroughs.
49ers defense needs practice. But I still, though, at this point, a game of this magnitude, you have to be prepared for these things if you're the NFL. At this point, and then last year especially, just gets more magnified to me because of it. The playing surfaces, you have months upon months to prepare for this stuff. We're not talking week 2 Thursday night football here. We're talking about the Super Bowl. You've got to be better in this circumstance, and it's not just here. I
remember they brought in grass,
yes,
to put over an artificial turf,
and
because the game is going to be played on grass.
Yep, and it came down.
I looked at them and said, "Look, we'll just practice on the turf.
Practice on the turf.
It's a walkthrough.
Yeah.
Come on,
literally, and I agree. It's ridiculous to see the complaining.
Again. These are your people.
They are my people. They do a lot of complaining. They really do.
Your people.
Now that complaining wound up thumping the Eagles, so that was good. But
again, 49er fans, right? I've already sent, and you should be getting it on Friday. Just an entire box of cheese. To go with your perpetual whining.
They've done their share of it this year. They sure have, and really the whole year leading up to it. And I'll tell you the funniest part of all of that. When it was 24-7 at halftime, I got quite a few messages. One, a former guest of this show.
Did I send you a message?
Not that I know of.
No.
One was a former guest of this show from the Philadelphia area. Said, "What's the?" If they'd have had Brock Purdy last year, they'd be winning this game. And suddenly, the tide turned.
Yes.
We
all noticed.
Yes, there was. Yeah, that did. But yeah, there's the 49ers have absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, not only what they do in the field, the success they've had these last couple of years, but they've alienated quite a few opposing fan bases at this point. And this is another example of it. That really complaining about something that I don't know is that big of an issue at the moment. Now, if you're in game preparations and you can't use the field whatsoever, yeah, that's a problem. But as far as I think so many people don't entirely understand how it works with the Super Bowl. The Chiefs are using the Raiders facility because they're the home team.
Right.
That is not the NFL favoring the Chiefs in any way. Last year, the Chiefs practiced at Arizona State, and the Eagles practiced at the Cardinals facility. So that's where that comes in. It is not at all, oh, the NFL's favoring the Chiefs because of Taylor Swift. No, it is not the case. And this is, again, why.
Because it's an even number year, the AFC.
Exactly. Home game. But
it actually is that simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a non-issue at this point. And it is why.
It's an issue because your people bring it up, okay? And here you
are. My
are.
people have alienated a lot of fan bases this year.
I am reading between the lines that you two are whining.
Well, I will say the NFL's got to be better because you're preparing for the biggest game of the year. But I will also say, you're right. This is not an issue at the moment. We're on Monday of Super Bowl week. If this was Thursday and you're doing your biggest game preparation and you can't use that field, that's a problem.
What do you think they did last week? The entire game plan was put in last week.
Of course. Absolutely.
That's what you do. You put it all in.
Absolutely.
You give the players a chance.
And it's what makes Andy Reid great. He has the 2 weeks to prepare.
Okay. But you take the first 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, and you have the players take care of all their ticket needs. Get it out of the way. Okay? Take care of it all. If there are any interviews you want to get done that week, you get it done that week. But then, okay, you actually get them in the facility, your facility, and you put in the game plan. Because on Monday and Tuesday, the coaches were game planning. Well, okay, you put it in that week. That way, this week is polish week. You're not putting in any game plan this week. You could have gone out on an artificial field, okay, and done what they need to do for Sunday.
Okay? Absolutely.
Right.
And it goes back to
there's one other element to this. It's very simple. Okay. Okay. Just go play the game. There's no need to complain. Okay. There's nothing to complain about.
And that's the thing, and it goes back to they've alienated a lot of people this year. They really have. That being the 49ers, they certainly have because of that. Look, the NFC Championship last year. Would it have been a different game, different outcome? I have no idea. Different game if Brock Purdy was in there? Yes, there's no question. But having said that, it's over with. It was over with in January. You didn't have to keep talking about it in September. And that was the problem that I had with it. I got frustrated as a fan looking at it and was concerned. And then you go to the game against Philadelphia. This is a team that goes right by the Eagles sideline, bumping into Philadelphia players. That's the kind of stuff that isn't going to fly on opposing fan bases. And that's the kind of stuff you better back it up if you're going to do it. And so far they have.
These are your people.
They're my people. I agree.
These are your people.
But, right now the expectation for this team, both teams really, Chiefs, same thing. Expectation for this team is to win the Super Bowl. There is not an expectation below that at this point for this team. They've been to the NFC Championship. They've been to the Super Bowl. They've got to win it at this point. People talk about the Cowboys. It's been 30 years for the 49ers too. And this is a spot where this team's got to win. You got to worry less about the stuff that doesn't matter and a lot more about the stuff that does matter when it comes to this team.
Just go play the game.
Absolutely. I'm ready to play the game right now. I'd put some pads on. I'm not sure what position I could play. I could probably help if Trent Williams goes down, I'm going to have to play O-line because their offensive line when Trent Williams goes down, forget about it. Even at my height and weight, I think I could block as well as the 49ers without Trent Williams.
Oh boy.
It'll be a fun week. Obviously.
If you're sitting in this chair, it's not.
But just the main point, though, like I said, it's a non-issue that has become an issue because of
it's the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl, absolutely.
It doesn't matter.
But it does right now. It doesn't.
It doesn't matter at all.
No, it doesn't. But it's a Super Bowl.
It doesn't matter.
And they're not the home team. So you don't get the better facility because you're not the home team.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Just get out there in a field. It's all right.
I wish it were that easy.
It is actually.
No, it is, but they don't make it that easy.
It's all we do. All we do on these shows is we overcomplicate things.
That's right.
Hey, it's okay. Just go play. All right? Just go play.
Yeah, and I think I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a game where I think when you were looking at the beginning of the year who your Super Bowl picks were going to be,
these 49ers are in the game. It'll probably be the lowest rated Super Bowl ever. Because people are disgusted.
People have had enough.
They've had enough of your.
They've just had enough.
Nah, I'll tell you, they could get over 120.
Yeah, there's no question. Yeah, absolutely.
I think over 120.
Yeah, you look at the highest rated games.
Yeah, this will be
no doubt highest rated games this year in the NFL: 49ers, Eagles, Chiefs, Eagles, and these games, Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no question about it. It's going to be high rated.
All right, so now let's get to like something serious. We're done with your stuff.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
By the way,
it's painful criticizing the 49ers, but they deserved it.
Oh, I'm only going to say this. This is not it really isn't a complaint because in the end, I'm somebody who doesn't really care about who the Big Ten Player of the Week is. If it's a Penn Stater, it's nice. Like Ashley Owusu is the Women's Player of the Week in the Big Ten this week. But did you see who got the Men's Big Ten Player of the Week? Zach Edey. Do you watch the games? Hey, look, Ace had a week where he played all 40 minutes, 2 road games, right? Just played brilliant basketball for 2 games. Zach Edey missed 8 out of 17 free throws in an overtime game against Northwestern. He missed 8 out of 17 free throws. Right? On Sunday, big game with Wisconsin, but he didn't score 20 points. He scored 18. He looked tired. He's the Player of the Week. That's why I don't pay attention to this stuff.
No, and
because I see stuff like that, I'm like, okay, fine. That's what you want to do. I mean, nobody could tell you're playing favorites. Nobody could tell.
No, that kind of stuff does not happen. Absolutely not.
I mean, come on.
It's like NBA draft lotteries. Those are all random. Yeah. I have never seen one that was questionable.
You just sit there and go, okay, that's who you want to. That's why I don't make a big deal out of it because, I never, as you notice on any sport, I never talk about the Big Ten Player of the week.
No, and it's not.
Just, I knew this was going to happen. Yeah. Dick and I were like, he's not going to get it.
Nope.
Right? And he's right. He didn't get it.
No,
right?
and
he said, "Who do you think's going to get it?" And this is before they played Wisconsin. They'll get Edey because they'll see
they'll beat Wisconsin. Yeah,
because they'll see the 30 and 15. Mm-hmm. Like, excuse me, the 30 and 15.
Yeah.
He was 9 of 17 at the free throw line.
Yep, and they'll look. I think anybody, a lot of the people that vote for this stuff will look at it. And they'll look at that game. They'll look at that game prior to, as Dick Girardi did. They'll look at that game prior to them even playing the game and basically predetermine, okay, Purdue wins this game, Zach Edey's Player of the Week. There are a lot of people that do that.
Well, but there's another element to it as well. You want to give a guy the Player of the Week.
Who misses 9 free throws.
Right. That misses the free throws in a game where the free throw disparity was 46 to 8 in the game, where he made one more free throw than Northwestern attempted in 45 minutes.
Absolutely.
Which brings it back to light about what a foul ball that was. The whole thing's been a foul ball. They fined Chris Collins $5,000 and publicly reprimanded him. Excuse me, okay? You find the wrong people. I'll leave it at that. The wrong people got fined in that game. The free throw disparity was 46 to 8. You find him for being mad about it? You find him for being mad about it. Really? Really? You publicly reprimanded him for being mad about it. 46 to 8. That's embarrassing.
It's like watching the
that
Lakers.
is embarrassing to the conference that happened. That
happened.
is embarrassing.
Yeah, sure. Because
Okay?
it doesn't.
And then you compound the embarrassment by fining him.
Yeah.
And you compound the embarrassment by publicly reprimanding him.
Absolutely.
And you compound the embarrassment of the guy that took 17 free throws in the game and giving him Big Ten Player of the Week.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about in a week how you have messed up one situation. It is bad.
Yeah.
It was bad
Sure
that
is.
night. We're watching the game as we're getting ready to do the Rutgers game. We're like, holy mackerel. Hey, do you know how many free throws Northwestern took in regulation? Two.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Did Northwestern just take jump shots in the game? No. Okay? They drove to the bucket. They tried to make plays. They tried to go inside. 46-8. So in a game that's 46-8, free throws. Now, look, if Purdue has more free throw attempts and it's, I don't know, pick a number, 22, 23 to 8.
Exactly.
I'm not saying a word about it.
No.
46-8?
It doesn't happen.
Is
It shouldn't happen.
absurd.
It shouldn't happen.
It's absurd.
Should never happen.
In a 45-minute game, Purdue was averaging a free throw attempt per minute. Northwestern averaged one every 6 minutes. Really?
Yeah.
I'm not saying free throws should ever be even in a game.
No, but the
I'm not
discrepancy should
saying
never,
that.
ever be that high.
But if the free throw
Ever.
attempts were 20 to 22 to 8, whatever, like, okay, well, but 46-8 borders on the absurd. Then you compound it by fining him $5,000. Then you compound it by publicly reprimanding him. Then you compound it by one of the guys in the game who had 17 attempts personally to the opponent's 8 and had 9 makes to the opponent's 6 makes, and he's the player of the week?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. You want to talk about not handling somebody in the office has to sit down and have some common sense about this and say, guys, we can't do this. We can't name him player of the week after that game on Wednesday night. We're getting a lot of blowback about that.
Absolutely.
If he had a 30-point game against Wisconsin Sunday, maybe he had 18. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched the game. I thought he looked tired.
Yeah. Not 18. And people looked at the fact of
and
how,
I'm not
again,
disparaging it, Grave. He's going to be the National Player of the Year. I have a Wooden Award vote.
Yeah.
I have a Wooden Award vote.
Right
Am
now
I going to
he
vote
should
for him for Player of the Year? Of course
he should
I
be.
am.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm not disparaging him.
No.
It's just,
But the one thing that I've noticed, and let's go up a level to the NBA, happens in the fourth quarter. Let's say the Lakers are playing the Timberwolves. Well, that free throw discrepancy is in the fourth quarter, 26-2. You're going to hear about it.
Yeah.
You're going to hear about it repeatedly, and most people aren't fined for it. They don't find the wrong guy in the NBA. They really don't. And that's where I think in that spot, it's you got to be better. You really do. And there's no way a game, unless the other team doesn't cross half court, the free throw discrepancy should be that high.
Right.
There's none. It should never be that significant.
Especially in the game. Okay, if the game weren't close,
The
game went to overtime.
Went to overtime.
Right?
Yeah.
Every free throw Purdue hit kept them in the game. I mean, it's not as if Northwestern hit free throws to stay in the game. They were one of two.
Yeah.
It kept them in the game. So that's a different story. But I saw that today, and I knew it was going to happen. So it's not like, Ace, welcome to the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So now, it was two great wins for Purdue. They went at home against Northwestern, contender. They went on the road at Wisconsin, contender. I've got that, but it's like it feels wrong.
Yeah.
What they did lacked common sense, and they didn't read the room right.
Right.
You got to be able to read the room in life. You got to be able to read the room.
Absolutely.
And people know I've said that about, for example, people are wondering, okay, how are you going to handle Kanye this week? What has been my biggest complaint about Kanye this season? There have been times where I've said, quote, on the air on the broadcast, I said, you've got to be able to read the room. Okay? And that's where he's going to have to be better. He is a terrific scorer, a terrific athlete. there's a long list of things he does really well. And when he's reading the room like he did in the first half of the Minnesota game, right? 5 assists, made everybody around him better. Penn State got a big lead. In the second half, did he do that? No. He's got to understand. You've got to be able to read the room. And it's not something I've said it on the broadcast. So it's not like I'm not talking out of turn. I said it. I stand by it. I've seen a couple of games in my life. You can tell when somebody's reading the room and when somebody isn't. But, all right. Now let's get to Dartmouth. I mean, the last time I talked about Dartmouth basketball, they were playing Penn State. That was a long time ago. So, a regional director for the National Labor Relations Board ruled in favor of the players' petition to unionize, saying that they are employees of the school. This, of course, will be appealed, but I can tell you if it gets appealed all the way up the chain to the National Labor Relations Board, remember the National Labor Relations Board right now, which is supposed to have 5 members, only has 4 right now. And 3 of the 4 were appointed by Presidents Obama and Biden. Okay? And the leader of the NLRB on the national level has indicated being in favor of student athletes being employees. So I'm just telling you, if it works its way up the line, don't be surprised.
Right.
All right? That's all I'm doing. I'm just laying it out there so everybody knows where at the national level things stand. There's 1 opening still there. There's 4 there, and 3 of the 4 appear to have a lean toward unionization. Okay, especially the number 1 person who's been public about it. So let's get to what happened at Dartmouth. Number 1, let's start with this so everybody understands. Dartmouth is a private school. Okay, this is not a public school that had this happen. It is a private school, just like when Northwestern voted. I always loved the thing, they ended up destroying the ballots, right? I privately do know, based on a couple of people I trust, that the vote was 62-15 against. Ooh, big number.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was years ago. Well, all 15 members of the Dartmouth men's basketball team signed a petition in September asking to join Local 560 of the Service Employees International Union. Okay? Now, they already represent employees at Dartmouth to begin with. So the regional director cleared the way for this to happen. All right? And this is Laura Sachs. This is what she wrote. Because Dartmouth has the right to control the work performed by the Dartmouth men's basketball team, and the players perform that work in exchange for compensation, which would be NIL. I find that the petitioned for basketball players are employees within the meaning of the National Labor Relations Act. Kate Haskins and Romeo Petrell called the ruling a significant step forward for college athletes. They're the representatives. All right. We're excited to see how this decision will impact college sports nationwide. They also announced plans to form the Ivy League Players Association for basketball players across the league. We believe that other athletes will recognize the opportunities this ruling presents and will be inspired to follow suit. This association aims to foster unity, advocate for athletes' rights and well-being, and create a platform for collaborative decision-making. We look forward to working with our fellow Ivy League athletes to bring positive change to the landscape of college sports in the Ivy League. Now remember, what do all 8 Ivy League schools have in common? They are private universities. They are not state-related universities. Now, that's Northwestern, for example, USC. Mm-hmm. People don't realize USC is a private institution. Mm-hmm. Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think who else in a Power 5 would be private. Stanford.
Stanford is, yep.
That might be it. Among Miami. Is Miami?
I don't know about Miami, but there is one in the BC private, Boston College.
Yeah, Boston College is private.
That was one.
Yeah. So is Duke is the question? I
think
Duke is a private.
I think they are. Yeah.
University. All right. Gabe Feldman is a sports law professor at Tulane. Quote, "It's the first step to potential employee status for college athletes." Now, the school can appeal this. And that happened with the Northwestern football team when they held a union election in 2014. The ballots were impounded. Pending the ruling, the NLRB, of course, said, we're going to announce what the vote happened to be, and then they blew up the ballots. Excuse me, over here in the back, okay, your salary's paid by the public. You've got to, okay. Yeah. Over here in the back. I mean, you can't do that. Sorry, you can't do that. You can't. So, Feldman said, if Dartmouth men's basketball players are employees, not only what athletes are not employees, but does this make the music students employees? So does this open the door too far? So, for example, you remember the Blue Band. Let's just, Penn State's a state-related university, right? That gets state funding. If you're a member of the Blue Band and you're performing at halftime, pregame, postgame, you make one trip a year, you go to the bowl games, that's 2 trips a year. Oh, by the way, another entity of the Blue Band plays at men's and women's basketball games, the pep bands at the volleyball game, things like that. Are they employees? Is the Nittany Lion mascot an employee?
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to throw the mascot in there if you're going to put the band, yeah.
So, then there's USC. There's a different National Labor Relations Board body in California that claims football and basketball players at USC should be deemed employees of the school. The hearing on that is later this month. Again, USC is a private school. Okay. The top lawyer for the National Labor Relations Board in 2021, in a memo, said that college athletes should be considered employees. General Counsel Jennifer Abruzzo wrote, the freedom to engage in far-reaching and lucrative business enterprises makes players at academic institutions much more similar to professional athletes who are employed by a team to play a sport. During the 4-day hearing in October, Dartmouth argued that the players should not be considered employees because athletics are part of the academic mission of the school, like performing in the orchestra or playing club sports. Joe McConnell, school attorney, back in October said at Dartmouth, students' primary objective is learning. Interesting concept. Dartmouth has adopted policies reflecting that students who participate in intercollegiate athletics are students first and athletes second. The university, or I guess Dartmouth's a college, the college said that the men's basketball program loses money, which I can tell you is true. They do. Okay, that Ivy League TV contract is not doing what it needs to do. They're the kind of school that you schedule and you give $75,000 to, and look, your job is to come in here, take the money, and lose. Thank you. What do you mean they won the game?
No, I was going to say, yeah, one of them didn't. Yeah.
No, that was always the great story about Kentucky. Penn State in 2000, 2001, so the Sweet 16 season. It was going to be a double-header. Florida, Arizona, Penn State, Kentucky. Florida, Arizona, I can't remember who backed out. It may have been actually Florida that backed out. And they still decided to play the game. And Penn State got a guarantee of $100,000. $100,000 in 2000. In November 2000, got $100,000. They got the check and they won.
I remember that.
Darn you people. Okay?
Appalachian State probably got a good check from Michigan. Don't beat them.
Yeah, but you know what? I'll bet the check would be exponentially higher today. It was 2007 when it happened.
Yeah, 07, week 1,
Yeah. Attorneys for the players. So men's basketball loses money at Dartmouth. We already know that.
Sure.
Everybody knows that. Attorneys for the players counted that the school's numbers leave out important and lucrative revenue streams that the basketball team contributes to. I'm trying to think which ones those are. I mean, they get an NCAA distribution. Everybody does. But the TV contract is so limited.
Yeah.
The radio contract's
is not high, yeah.
I mean, they're on a station in Hanover. I can't imagine they're on an extensive network, right? And I don't know if Learfield has them or not. Learfield has like 200 plus schools, but the contract for them isn't in the same ballpark as Penn State's. What's more, the players say it's not whether the team turned a profit. See, this is where they know they're losing money. What matters is that the program brings in revenue. Almost every program brings in revenue.
Yeah.
I mean, for goodness sakes. I mean, we sit there and we can talk about any sport. Any sport. Okay? So let's take baseball at Penn State. How much is a baseball ticket at Penn State?
I couldn't even tell you anymore. Probably $5, maybe $4, somewhere around there, $6.
If you sell 2 of them,
yeah,
for the whole season,
yeah,
that's $10.
revenues. Yeah,
you brought in revenue.
Yep.
Now that's not the case, but I'm saying you sell 2 tickets, you brought in revenue. I mean, these are like words. Okay.
Well, I always like when they use the word generate revenue. It's even to make it look like it's even more professional.
What matters is if the program brings in revenue. Well, Dartmouth basketball brings in revenue. Sure. They just don't bring in enough to pay for themselves. Yeah. Okay? And also whether the coaches have control over the players. Well, for God's sakes, you got to have a boss somewhere.
Yeah. Control
over the players? Okay? We have bosses here. You people listening and watching this, you have bosses. You have people above you, middle management. You might be in middle management. You might be in upper management. You might be in no management. Okay? But you've got people who you are working with that are in positions to tell you what to and not to do. Control. Can I transfer from Dartmouth? Of course I can. In fact, a couple of years ago, one of the top shooters at the University of Minnesota was a Dartmouth transfer.
Who was the quarterback went there? Was it Jay Fiedler? Did Fiedler go there? There was a quarterback years ago went to Dartmouth.
Well,
I want to say Jay Fiedler, but I don't.
Well, I remember they had a quarterback wide receiver combination where both their fathers were NFL players. And I think one of them was Jack Kemp's son, who was a wide receiver, I think. And I was trying to remember the quarterback's name.
Yeah, Fiedler went to Dartmouth.
Yeah. Okay. The collegiate sports model on amateurism, of course, is under attack. Feldman said, I think they're all different sides to a similar threat. And the threat is the loss of control over the ability to restrict compensation to athletes. As we are closer than ever than we've been to a system where college athletes not only receive significant additional compensation, but have a vote in how much compensation they receive. Okay, like I'm at Dartmouth, and I'm looking at a lot of empty seats in the football stadium. What compensation should I be getting?
Exactly.
Okay, what's my compensation?
Yeah.
Now, if you're Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Texas, Alabama, where you're averaging over Tennessee, you're averaging over 100,000 fans. And
consistently, too.
All right. Tony Clark, Major League Baseball Players Association Executive Director. Why are we even commenting on this? College athletes are employees entitled to basic rights and fair compensation for their labor that has created a multi-million-dollar industry. Okay, there's only 2 sports that have a multi-million dollar industry.
And it's not baseball.
Okay, it's football and men's basketball. That is it. And don't give me the rigmarole about women's basketball. Don't do it.
No.
Okay, don't embarrass yourself.
No.
It is the biggest. Okay, I'm talking about the NCAA women's basketball tournament is financially the biggest loser of all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just a fact.
And I think
It's just, and again, it is an undisputed fact.
It is
that nobody wants to talk about. Okay, so don't get into it. But if the games are, it doesn't matter if the games are on TV. It doesn't matter what the new TV contracts.
No,
it doesn't matter.
And people also don't factor that in a lot of times. They will.
Okay,
I think people,
all these sports.
Yeah.
Okay, football and to a much lesser degree, men's basketball.
Right.
Okay, men's basketball helps.
Yeah.
But football is
What
the
moves it?
behemoth.
Yeah.
Everybody else loses money.
Yeah.
Okay?
And
because they don't have the TV deals.
right.
They don't have the radio deals. They don't have the media deals that go with it. You may have the attendance. Wrestling's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Best program in the country, right? Best program of any program in the country, without question. It sells out everything, right? And hopefully they can sell out Monday night. That's not a done deal yet. Hopefully, I hope they can sell that thing out on Monday night with Rutgers. But they sell everything out. They're the show. Everywhere they go, they get sellouts.
Right.
Everywhere they go, they get sellouts. Right? And they still lose money.
Yeah.
Now, do I care that they lose money? No. I've got other revenue sources that make up for it so that they get what they deserve to get, and that is, if they can get a charter here, if they can get something else there, whatever, because they've earned it. They've earned it. But the bottom line, I've always used them as an example, is never to put them down. That's not the point. The point is, if they're losing money, what does it tell you about everybody else?
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yep.
My point is, if they can't make money, right?
Yeah, and I think it's a misconception sometimes from the person on the outside looking in. A lot of times they'll say, well, how are they losing money? They're selling out every game. That's why they're losing money. They're not having that TV deal. They're not having that media contract, the big radio deal that a lot of these schools do have for other sports. That's the biggest reason why. And that I think is something a lot of people don't necessarily see and understand.
Right. I mean, when you look at the Big Ten, just like take BTN. Is Penn State wrestling on BTN?
Yes. At times, yeah. Yep.
Like 5 times a year? Right? The men's basketball program, again, this is because of the programming structure, is on TV 32 times a year. That's why that's why people, they get the TV money, it's on their line. They should. They're on 32 times.
Yeah, you're on 32 times, and then not to mention you're on
Are you
not just BTN, you're on Peacock and NBC, and these are things that...
Right. And not only that, but for example, I'll give you an example. They've got to wrestle at Iowa on Friday night, and that's going to be at 9 o'clock. It's late. And of course, they're going to have to come back and wrestle here on Monday night.
Monday night, yeah.
All right? So that's not easy. But the men's basketball team has to play on a Tuesday night at 9 o'clock at night. And they have to be back in class Wednesday morning.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay?
They're
going to get back at 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Why? Because TV said they are playing at 9 o'clock Eastern time.
Yeah.
Okay? That's why.
And unless you're Bob Knight, who is no longer with us, it's tough to argue that.
Right.
That's
the way it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
When Penn State played Wisconsin, it was a 9 o'clock game at night. Those poor Wisconsin kids, who knows what time they get home?
Get home, exactly.
Right? And again, you're flying west. You're flying against the wind. It takes longer.
I was going to say, weather wasn't the best kids, that day, those 2 days.
At all.
Yeah.
It wasn't great, and they had to go back. Because the game started here at 9 o'clock at night because TV said the game's at 9 o'clock. So it's not just a Penn State thing. Right? No. So now...
No, if it was just a school thing, Indiana basketball under Bob Knight would have never had a late game.
Right.
Ever. Yeah, he was. That was the one person that I think was furious
Well, that's
with
why
this in so many ways.
They used to. What was it? They were on the Big Ten. Started out on Big Monday.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he complained
Super
about
Tuesday.
that the Big Ten kept getting the late slot, the 9 o'clock slot, because the games were at 7 and at 9. And that's how they got moved to Super Tuesday or whatever it was called, because he complained about it.
Yeah.
But now back to the unionization part. You have 800 student athletes on this campus. So the point being is that you have two sports that equal 98 scholarships that do turn a profit. And again, football turns a huge profit. Men's basketball turns a profit, not as much. Now remember, the numbers you saw from Penn State this year, when you look at the numbers, do not include the new TV contract. This goes to fiscal year June 30th. Next year, where you're like, well, they only made this and the revenue. Okay, the expenses were here. Well, the expenses were here with the idea that next year the revenue is going to be here, because then the new TV contract number kicks in. Oh, and by the way, the new radio network contract kicks in, which more than doubles the current number. It's not a small number. It's not a small number. Okay. And those are two elements that kick into next year. Now, the radio one won't be on the next one. Let me think. To June 30th this year. It'll still be the old Learfield
Yeah, I was going to say
contract.
fiscal, no. Yeah,
so you're going to get two parts. Yep. Fiscal year ending June 30th will include the new TV contract, but the old radio deal. Conversely, then the year after will include the new TV contract and whatever bump there is in it,
and
plus the radio deal.
Yep.
Okay, so that's a two-part, two additions, critical additions to the revenue stream at Penn State. So back to unionization. On the unionization front, if you are working 20 hours a week at Penn State, are you a full-time employee? Okay, so what's the practice restriction on players?
Yeah.
From the NCAA. What's the practice restriction number?
You're right.
It's 20 hours.
20 hours, yep.
Okay, which includes meetings, things like that. There's a restriction. Now, if you want to do any work on your own, that's
right.
Your time. Okay? But there's a restraint. Do you already get a day off? It's mandated. You have to have a day off. Okay? So, are you a full-time employee? Over here in the back, if you are restricted to 20 hours a week between meetings and practice with a mandated day off, there's no other employee in the university that is in a union that's allowed to do that. I mean, for some reason, Dartmouth didn't bring this up. They talked about revenue and so forth. Okay. Look, you can be working at the EV division of Ford, which is not doing well, right? It's just not. And they're losing money. But there's still people working there, and they're churning it out. So the money part, to me, doesn't matter about the revenues. That's Dartmouth argued that the men's basketball team loses money. Well, they do. But that's not the argument here. The argument should be, well, they're already restricted to 20 hours a week, which would not make them full-time employees. It only makes them part-time employees in the system here. There are no union members here at the Service Employees Union that is unionized at 20 hours a week. How much are the union dues?
Yep.
And it's not as if part-time employees can't be in the union or that part-time employees can't. Okay.
Yeah, they can be.
My mother, my late mother was working in the system in Connecticut as a part-time employee. And even though she wasn't a member of the union, she still had to pay union dues.
Yeah, there are definitely a couple companies.
When she told me that, that's the state of Connecticut.
Yep.
Hey, they pull.
Well, there are some in the state of Pennsylvania full and part-time where you will. Yep.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, there are some jobs where you don't even get a paycheck for first 3 pay periods or so because you're paying union dues, you're paying all these other fees. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm not going to name companies at all, but there are jobs where they put part-timers in there and say, hey, here's what you're going to do.
But again, the Dartmouth men's basketball players are restricted under NCAA rules to 20 hours a week. Oh, by the way, that includes games. Okay. They're not even allowed to do anything they do on their own. They do on their own. They want to watch video on their own. They want to do okay? Now, travel time's a little different. Because Penn State just played 2 road games last week. So they weren't in school on Wednesday. Got back on the bus at like 4:15 in the morning. They went to class on Thursday. Got out earlier on Friday because they couldn't get the plane plane didn't leave till 11 o'clock. So there are going to be circumstances like that. But just on a normal week, you're supposed to be restricted to 20 hours. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think. Did Jim Harbaugh break that rule? Yeah.
Might have once or twice, yeah. Yeah.
He broke a few rules there.
Yeah. Even in an era where you really can hardly ever have a recruiting violation anymore, he managed to find a way.
Yeah. This is your guy. This is your guy.
Managed to find a way.
This is your guy.
That's Justin Herbert's guy now. He's excited for him.
It's your guy. You're forever linked to him at the hip.
Yeah, because he coached the 49ers.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, when they came here, you couldn't wait to cover the visitors' locker room. It was like your opportunity to go to Mecca. I know how you think. But that's
the man of 10-second answers.
This brings with it a lot of questions as to how you handle it. They're employees. Yeah, but which employees at the university are you? And I may be wrong. I may be wrong about this. Are there employees at this university that are in the union at 20 hours a week?
I don't know for sure. To my knowledge, no. I don't know for sure.
The Teamsters had the audio.
Yeah.
Had the audio contract at WPSU. And I don't recall part-timers being members of the
Teamsters
union.
have had a contract and a lot
but they
of...
were Teamsters.
Yeah.
The audio people were Teamsters. So we had to go by all the rules. No,
same.
I couldn't put a microphone on. It had to be done by them, because those are the rules. And you followed the rules. And you did it out of respect to your fellow employee.
Right. Absolutely.
I could care less about, out of respect to the union.
Right.
But guess what? You're a member of the union. Those are the rules. So, hey, we work together.
You're going to be
whatever
respected.
you need.
Absolutely.
Out of respect, I'll do whatever you need.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, but to my knowledge, I think you're right. I don't think... I know, that's... Now, I don't know anymore because obviously the Penn Stater has been sold. But
does this open the door as a unionization group to then start solving NIL and transfer portal? I don't know.
I hope so. I think it does to an extent. I think it has to be. This is the start of addressing, what needs to be addressed, and that's stability, which you're going to have to figure out a way to get to, one way or another. I don't know what that answer is. They don't know what that answer is, but you're going to have to get it at some point because it just, every one of us, clear as day, I am all for the student athlete getting what they deserve, but you got to be stable in some way with this, or it's going to get out of control. It's already on the verge, and it's just that's the concern for me with college athletics right now.
Now, if you are in a union, you can vote to strike,
right?
So there's no perfect solution here.
Mm-hmm.
Can you restrict compensation? Yes, you actually can. You can actually have a compensation structure that is put in place. That's what happens. So on the pro level, I mean, I can pay you $100 million.
Sure.
But I'm only allowed to spend $200. So I'm giving $5 million to Kyle. I still have 52 other spots or 51 other spots I got to take care of here, with the remaining the remaining 95
million. Yeah.
I'm just using round numbers here.
Yeah.
The NBA has a cap. The NHL has a cap.
NHL does. Yeah.
Major League Baseball does not. It's artificial.
No.
It's a luxury tax. So it's an artificial cap. If you go above it, you got to pay into it, and then of course, the Pirates keep theirs.
They're not alone.
It's like, what are you doing? All right,
Rays, Royals, A's, Twins.
They all keep the money.
Marlins.
And that was always George Steinbrenner's complaint. He says, "I don't mind paying it." He says, "But they don't.
But they don't
keep it.
They don't use it." Yeah.
So this brings with it questions. And it brings with it potential, if handled correctly, opportunity. And if you see the opportunity and a way to work it out, maybe this allows you to have a structure on the collegiate level, because it can't be the same structure as the NFL has, for goodness sakes. These are men who are married with kids. It's, you know what I mean? It's, right? You're
Much
still
different.
students.
Yeah.
You still have to go to class.
Yeah.
And not only that, we're talking about working conditions. What working conditions?
That's...
Okay, your working conditions are, you're supposed to be, and do we all know, Jim Harbaugh, that violate the 20-hour week thing? Jim Harbaugh.
And I can guarantee he's not alone. He's the only one who's dumb enough to get caught.
This is your guy. This is your guy.
You're talking about.
This is your guy.
I don't think there's any doubt that there are several people that have violated that.
This is your guy.
Yep.
I think there are a couple other people who have been called out for it.
Yes.
But the rule is already in place.
Exactly.
And again, anything you want to do on your own. I mean, you're a quarterback. You want to go in on your own and watch video, the whole thing. Fine.
You can do that.
Because there's not a mandated meeting or anything like that. But these are mandated meetings, practices, leading into a game and so forth. It's mandated as to how often you hit during the course of the week. Each conference, the Big 12, you're only allowed to hit and practice one day a week. The Big 12, one. Leading into a game. And you already have these rules in place. Some things are in place that work absolutely to the benefit of the student athlete. Right? The 20-hour week is supposed to work to their benefit. Now, if you want to go in and lift weights on your own or whatever, that's your business.
Right.
Hey, that's your business.
But it's also a fine line. You got to be careful that, if you're 30 guys on your team are lifting weights at the same time, suddenly you're going to get a watch from outside saying, "Hey,
yeah, but
is this voluntary?"
But what they do, but they set up weight lift times.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, those are the designated times.
Designated times, absolutely.
So, and there's not just one.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have it staggered. Right, and there's groups that lift together. Well, that's your time. Right, just like that's his time or her time, whatever sport it happens to be. And so there are already elements in there that are built in. The question's going to be, and this is where you have to ask the question. All right, in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes makes X. Okay. Travis Kelce makes Y.
Yeah.
And Donovan Smith makes Z.
Yeah.
Which one of the three is the lowest paid of the group?
Yeah.
Which is the highest paid of the group?
Absolutely.
Which one should be the highest paid of the group? Okay.
Yeah, and you can
is there a scale as to what the second string offensive lineman's making?
Yeah.
Is there a scale as to what the backup point guard is making? Is there a scale as to the person that right now is third at 149 pounds? Is there a scale as to what the backup shortstop is making on the softball or the baseball teams?
Right.
That aren't the starters. Is there a scale?
Yeah. Good point.
I don't know. or does everybody get the same?
And that was the question, I think, when this first started. That was the question. Where do you go? Does everybody get the same? How does this get paid out? We haven't really gotten any answers since, and it's been almost 3 years now.
And Charlie Baker, the president of the NCAA, did propose a scale of what, 30,000 put into a trust fund or whatever. You don't get it until you graduate.
Until you graduate, right.
It's at least something worthy of consideration.
Right.
But would a union go along with that? I don't think so.
No way.
No.
Nope.
Meanwhile, Dartmouth basketball.
It's generating revenue.
No. No.
Not in the green, significantly in the red, but they're bringing that revenue in.
Here, let's see. Dartmouth basketball. All right. I'm going to guess that at home they're averaging less than 3,000 a game.
Probably. Yep.
No. I just want to look. Dartmouth basketball. Okay, a beautiful lead arena, by the way, I might add. I know we're slightly over here, but I got to look this up just to see. Quick links, schedule, whatever. Dartmouth can't maintain strong start, loses 72-56 to Columbia. That's not a good start. Let's see, stats. It'll be under stats. All right, you need to do men's sports. Great, that'd be men's basketball. Great. View quick links. Buy tickets. That appears to be empty.
Well, they have inflated the heck out of the number this year because this is not accurate. But they've got their attendance at 8313.
8313.
Meanwhile, the year before, total attendance average was 3642. So they have not brought what they have done is taken the highest.
Is that the average for all the games they've played?
Well, they've gotten.
No, I'm talking about.
They are going per game here.
Yeah, but I mean, like.
Oh, that's got to be. Yeah.
Does that include everybody?
That's got to be every game, literally, does it not?
Right.
Yeah, that's got to be. That's not an average.
Right. No, I'm just talking about what their home average is.
Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, the opposition's almost 19,000. So it is per. It is. It is.
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah. I've got it. You want to know what they're averaging per game?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
home games.
Oof.
You want to know what the average is per game at home?
Yeah, it's not good.
644.
That's going to be less than 1,000. Yeah.
644.
8313 divided by 28. Yeah. So
they're averaging 644.
Oof. That's not good
per game. Their overall is 3,609 per game on the road. That's because they played some non-conference games.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But they're averaging 644 fans per game at home.
That's bad.
How much is a Dartmouth basketball ticket?
I can't imagine it's much when you're bringing... an average crowd averages around... They even have rounded it the wrong way. See, I was taught in grade school that you went lower if you were below 50, but they went 700. They went up. They tried to be a little generous and rounded it upward.
Big Green basketball tickets. This is on StubHub.
Big Green or Big 700,
this is
according
on
to
StubHub.
them. I can't imagine
And
they can't be more than dollars. They can't be.
They're playing Harvard this weekend. So they are... How many tickets do I want? Just skip. I just want to...
You don't want the single
seat. Section C, Section C, 4 chairbacks, 2 tickets seated together, $9 each.
$9 each. That's a lot.
So if you take,
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna chance it and wait till the
Section C, chairbacks, $12. So let's just take the average of $12 per ticket. Let's just say,
that's a high average.
Look,
you wait till tip off. You're not paying $12.
I am a generous guy.
Very generous.
Okay? So let's take 12 times 644. They are generating $7,728 per game. Okay, Penn State basketball's rent per game in the Jordan Center is exponentially higher than that. Exponentially higher. So they played, 10 home games so far? They've generated $77,000 in revenue to this point. Okay. We bring in revenue. Yes, you
They
do.
It's in the red, but it's revenue.
Sorta. Right? GM wouldn't consider what you're doing revenue. Microsoft doesn't consider what you're doing revenue. But
I'm not sure the national debt considers it.
right? I mean, what the heck? Well, we're $35 trillion in debt. Do we really care about revenue? I mean, come on.
Nope.
But the point guard's making some coin. All right. Talk to you tomorrow.